Hello, everyone. So you're probably curious how to play the game, and we wanted to quickly get up a video for you so that you can see the basics of how to play. Very soon, we will have a more in-depth play tutorial so that you can see an entire game with two players and see how that all plays out. But for now, we'll give you the basic anatomy of a turn. Before you play, you're obviously going to need another opponent, and you'll need a few things. You'll need a dice. A single dice is used to roll to determine who goes first. You can elect to go first, or you can go second. If you were to go second, then you will need to use this card here and place this card in your gem zone. Your gem zone is here across the bottom of the mat. As well as that, you will need 10 stones. They're all identical. They all come in the starter kit. You don't need to shuffle them. If you want to shuffle them for fun, sure, go for it. You're going to put those here in the gem deck zone. You're also going to need a minimum of 40 cards to use as your main deck. So these are old prototypes of the cards. So the effects are slightly different here, but for the purpose of the video, they should be okay. You place the deck here. And lastly, you're going to need some champions to go in your Aether deck. Your Aether deck is also known as your extra deck. When you start the game, you are going to pick one of your champions, and you are going to play that champion face down. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to play Strife face down. I'm going to take the remainder of my champions, and I'm either going to place them face down off of my mat or in my deck box. At the beginning of the game, both players draw 5 cards. Once you've drawn your 5 cards, you can take a look at them and decide if you want to mulligan any of those cards. So for this example, you can mulligan up to your hand. So I am going to mulligan, you can mulligan up to 3 cards. I'm going to mulligan this and this. So I take these 2 cards and I place them on the bottom of the deck. And then, without shuffling, I draw 2 additional cards. This is my starting hand. Being that my opponent went first, my opponent would not draw for his turn or her turn. Since I'm going second, it is now my turn, so we will go through things. At the start of the game, both players reveal their champion, and the turn player will reveal the first gem in their gem deck. So since it's my turn, now what I will do is I will draw for turn. I will reveal a gem and place it. These gems are permanent gems. This is essentially a dissipating gem. I then can look at my hand and decide what I would like to do. And so for this turn, since I have my 2 gems, what I think I am going to do, for the sake of example, is I'm going to use my coin. The coin lasts as a gem. You can crush it, you can drain it, or you can use it, but you can only do one of those actions. And once you've done that single action, that card is removed from the game. So I'm going to elect to use my coin, and I will exhaust it to produce 1 gem. Quantum Kitten costs 1 gem, so I'm going to play that here. This card I would then place a dice on for 2 turns. Since I've used this and it's resolved, I'm going to remove it completely from the game. Next, I have 1 remaining gem left in my gem zone. I'm going to exhaust that gem to produce 1. And I am going to play Rain's card in this lane. So now I have 1 card in either of my lane. I would then pass my turn and my opponent would determine what they would do. Now, back to myself. At the beginning of my turn, I would scan the field and see if there's anything that I wanted to do. There's nothing I can do at this moment. So in order of how you would do things, you would draw your card for turn, unexhaust any of your exhausted units, unexhaust your gems, play your next gem for turn, and now I'm in my judgment phase. During judgment phase, I can determine if there's anything that I want to do. I am currently in an open game state. So for this turn, I decide that I am going to play this card here in this lane. When monsters are summoned, when Eternals are summoned, they have a summoning sickness. So since this came out this turn, I cannot use this particular card. I can, however, attack with this card. This card has 1 dice remaining on it. So with this card, I can attack directly by exhausting the card and declaring an attack directly on the lane. On the following turn, I would then draw a card, unexhaust my units, gain a gem. Now at this point, let's imagine that the opponent has a larger monster or unit or eternal. I could then take this particular eternal, declare an attack, exhaust that unit, and attack into their larger monster. Because my unit is smaller, this unit would then die. I would place that unit in the underworld, and since that unit's effect condition has been met, I can now activate its effect. I can target the unit that it was destroyed, and then I can destroy that unit. And if I do, I draw a card. So at this point, I would draw a card. Now, because that action has happened, this Eternal's effect would activate, resulting in this gaining +1/+1. So now this unit is at 2/2. I can then exhaust this unit and attack into another unit if I choose, or directly into the lane. Now at this point, I still have my 3 gems, and I decide that I want to use a champion skill. So I declare that I'm using a champion skill. This one is Visions of the Future. I must pay 1 gem and pay 5 life. I'm going to pay 5 life from this lane, which tells me that I can then take 1 card, place it in the afterworld. Once I have done that, I can draw a card. The card is placed face down in the afterworld by this effect, and any cards placed in any location face down may not be looked at by either player. Now that that's done, I still have 2 units of gems left. However, at this point in the game, I'm starting to build up a hand size, and I decide that I want to start playing a little bit defensively to protect my unit. So I'm going to place Wayland's Fan face down in the main zone. I am also going to place Ashes of Ethernia face down, and then I'm going to end my turn. During my opponent's turn, he summons an Eternal to this lane, which could address the issue of this larger unit. When he enters into battle, because I have not used all of my gems, I elect to activate Wayland's Fan. Wayland's Fan says select 1 Eternal, return it from the field to the owner's hand. That named card cannot be summoned to the field again this turn. So I select his unit. His unit is then returned to his hand, obviously after I've paid the cost for the card. And then the card is then sent to the underworld. I've protected my unit for the turn. Now, again, we go around in the cycle. I will draw a card. I will unexhaust my units. I will gain another gem. And now I am on turn 4. Now at this point, I have a lot more options. So here I am going to summon this Hanako card by paying 1, and I'm going to summon that card in this lane. Now I have 3 units of gem left, but this card is finally able to be resolved. I'm going to send this card to my afterworld, and when I do, I can reveal cards from the top of my deck until I reveal an Eternal. Summon that Eternal without paying its cost, and then return the remaining cards to the deck and shuffle. So this is not an Eternal, not an Eternal, and we found an Eternal. Now, you can take this card, return these to the deck, shuffle the deck, and I can summon this in either lane. I am going to summon that card here. Now, I'm going to use 2 more gems to activate Hanako's effect, allowing her to tag out back into the deck and summon a different Hanako who's not an ultimate card. So I'm going to tag Hanako out, look for another version of her in the deck, and I'm going to grab this one, Quantum Coercion. I will summon that card. And again, no matter what happens, if a monster is summoned, if it does not have haste, it has summoning sickness, so it cannot attack this turn. However, because this card was summoned by the effect of a Hanako card, I can now take one of my cards that have been sent to the underworld, sent to the afterworld, and add them to my hand. So I know what this card is, but I would like to grab this card instead. So I grab this card, and the resulting card is Pippi's Pepper Plant. Now, this was a fortuitous event. Pippi's Pepper Plant, when activated, will turn turn the Eternal into a 5/5. However, it gains haste, which means it can attack that a turn, and it cannot attack units directly. So let's make the assumption that the player has a unit in this lane. We're now able to combo these cards off of our lucky draw from the afterworld. I pay my remaining 1 unit of mana, my gem. I activate Pippi's Pepper Plant in this lane, selecting Hanako. Hanako has now been hasted, and she now becomes a 5/5. This card resolves, going to the underworld, and because she was hasted, I can now exhaust and declare an attack on her unit. Because I have done so, Hanako then destroys this unit. Because Hanako has survived that battle, her strike ability can then trigger, which allows me to send her back into the deck. And I can summon a different version of her in the opposing lane. So now I will summon this Hanako here. Because this Hanako has not been used this turn, I can now activate her effect. On this current version of the card, it indicates that I need to crush 1 gem to use the effect. So I'm going to crush 1 gem, which allows me to execute any of my opponent's Eternals. So I will select one and execute that, effectively creating a great combo system between what has happened from the champion card previously, bringing the card to my hand, and having an excellent setup there. So now I've got a lot of units over here. Because Rain has seen another unit die, she has now gained +1/+1. And at this point, I can begin exhausting my units. This one cannot attack because she was just summoned. This one cannot attack because she was just summoned. But I can exhaust this unit and attack for 3 directly. At this point, I've used up all of my gems, and I've used up all of my available plays, and I cannot necessarily do anything. So I will then pass the turn to my opponent. Now, play will go back and forth along these ways. Depending on what your opponent is using, the play lines obviously will get more complicated and in-depth. And so I hope that you will be able to at least gain a little bit of a glimpse on what the game is like from this brief example. Again, we will have a more detailed and complete match available for you to view shortly. I do thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and welcome to the Rift.